This is Bringing the Darkness to the Light with Catherine Nadal, professional psychic medium.
Today's guest is Colin Peternik. He is a singer-songwriter, and he is a solo artist who is now promoting his own work. It is a pleasure to have you on.
Pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
Hi, Colin. I know I was reviewing your stuff, and I was so blown away. I'm like, what haven't you done? You've been involved in some really cool bands. From what I can tell from your bio, it's like Steve Miller Band, Cherry Glazer, Alan Parsons Project. How did you get involved in all this?
Well, those are all actually artists that we opened for. So, I've been in the industry now since I was in high school, 16, 17, 18. And I used to be in a progressive rock band called Lobster Newberg. We were one of the only new prog bands out. So we got a lot of attention on the niche progarchives.com and all of those great websites. My favorite bands of all time are Genesis, King Crimson, and I just love prog rock. So through that connection, we kind of were able to hook up and link with these national artists, and it kind of paved the way for what I'm doing now, which is far more commercial. But my favorite thing to do is still listen to prog rock. But I understand that in this day and age, you kind of meet the audience where they are. And I'm having a lot of fun writing and recording pop music now. So that's really cool.
Yes, I was looking at a lot of your work, not just the videos, but the songs as well. And you're right, there's a commercial feel to it, which I think a lot of people now are following.
Yeah.
I cover everything from heavy metal to country, and a lot of people just like what we used to call radio tunes, something that could just be easily listened to and not too heavy. And so, wow, this is so exciting. So when did you realize that you were really going to be drawn to a career in music? Were you a toddler singing around the house, or did it hit you later in life?
Yeah, well, my dad is Jim Peterik. He was in the bands The Ides of March and Survivor. He wrote with 38 Special. So it's kind of impossible to stay away from it. And maybe when I was a young kid, I would plink on the piano and stuff, but he never forced me into lessons or anything like that. I think he knew that I might have been turned off from music if he pushed too hard. So I ended up I got really into skateboarding in high school. And then towards the end of high school, I started to really want to be in bands and be in music. And I kind of fell in love with that. Eventually, I realized that it's a lot harder to get hurt in music than it is on skateboarding. And I realized for the sake of my body and my health, I should probably focus on music instead of skateboarding, because I was pretty good at skateboarding at one point in my life. But I think by the time I was 18, 19, I knew that I wanted to be an artist, because I've always been a songwriter. I've always been the band leader, never wanted to be a side guy. I've always wanted to, express my vision the way I want. So a solo career really made sense for me.
Wow. When you said skateboard, I watched your video, and there's one video that you are skateboarding in.
Yeah.
And I have a skateboard injury myself, believe it or not. In 2021, I was bored, and I'm I never picked up a skateboard. Well, I didn't just pick it up. I fell down on it, and I broke my wrist. Broke my wrist. So, so I've kind of retired from all things that look fun and interesting at this point.
Wow.
But
there's a million different ways to get hurt on a skateboard.
Yes. And, it's interesting because when I did get hurt, the physician that was caring for me said that the wrist injury is probably one of the highest on a skateboard, because people just put their arms out, they're going to stop themselves. And, wow. Well, I give you a lot of credit. I know I looked at your videos, and I have to mention your videos so that the audience can go and check them out. They're on your website. Video is called Smile, Cocaine Nights, My Secrets, and Michiana, yeah. So tell us about the video where you are skateboarding, because I found that so easy to watch, and it was cool. Yeah. It was on location.
Yeah, that's a really cool song. I was working on that song for maybe 10, 12 years from conception to release, because I could never get it right. Eventually, it helps as an artist to walk away from something and come back to it. If you spend too much time ruminating on a song, you get into it, and it's hard to, if you hear it too often, you got to take a break. So anyway, the song is about really my family and I I'm from Chicago. We would always drive up to our lake house in Saugatuck, Michigan, just a beautiful area with the dunes and dune grass and everything. And that area is kind of called Michiana. It's Indiana, Michigan, Michiana. So Yeah, I just want to do like a tribute to that area. It's a very unique area outside the city, small towns, beach towns, and the video was shot in Michigan City, Indiana, where there's these really weird nuclear cooling towers like in The Simpsons. And I thought it's a pretty cool juxtaposition between like the lake and the smokestacks and the skate park, and the song kind of brings it all together. It's very, I call it, it's like I like to do these like pocket symphonies, where it's 3.5 minutes and there's strings and vocals and lots of melodies and lots of weird modulations. And that's one of my favorite pocket symphonies I've done. But I usually try to put one or two of those on each album.
Wow, well, it's interesting. In one of your videos, you actually are on the keyboard. So was that your only instrument, or did you kind of dabble in a lot of instruments?
My first instrument was keyboards, and that's kind of what I fell in love with music in the first place. Then I learned guitar, and then I learned drums. And as a producer, it's helpful to know a little bit about each instrument. So I've kind of learned to be a producer drummer, producer guitarist, where I'm not going to be out ripping crazy solos, but I can lay down the foundation of a song. I can lay down the drums until I have time to hire a professional drummer to do it. But making my own demos, I've always been into. And then you slowly but surely replace the parts with, as you need, with other musicians that can play them better. It's just about laying down the ideas to begin with. So it's helpful to know a little bit about everything. But usually, yes, I'll keep the keyboards that I do, and I'll overdub all my vocals and keyboards myself.
Wow, well, earlier you mentioned who your dad is. Those are big shoes to kind of follow along, right? How was his take on you being interested in music? Sometimes families are like, don't follow me, kind of a thing. Like, they try to protect you in their own way. What was his
Yeah.
take on you?
Well, he's always been extremely supportive, and he's also always been a really, as rock stars go, he's been a pretty responsible rock star. He never really gave in to the excesses of sex, drugs, and rock and roll, and so he's always been a good role model. And so I think that he didn't really have any big horror stories to tell me that would steer me away from music. So I think that that's helpful, and he's very proud. And we share new music with each other all the time, and we're each other's biggest supporters. So he's always been the guy for that.
Wow, I'm so glad to hear that. There's so many different stories in the business,
Yeah.
of people's paths along the way. For someone who kind of strayed away from sex, drugs, and rock and roll, like you said, your dad, some of the titles in your work is quite the opposite. So
Yeah.
I was looking at your videos and it's like Cocaine Nights. I'm like, I have to watch this video. Like, what's going on over here? So tell me about making that video.
That's a really funny story. And this is not I'm not advocating, don't do drugs, It's more of a, as an artist, you can't be afraid to tell stories and venture outside and talk about things. I just wanted to kind of paint a picture. You listen to the song, I want the listener to feel like they're at a wild party. That was kind of the idea. Originally, the song was called Boat Nights. And so I had the demo, boat nights, boat nights, same kind of thing about being out on the boat. Anything goes, what happens on the water stays in the water. And I played it for my dad, and he was like, I like the beat, I like what you're going, but it doesn't work. Boat nights, it's like it's missing something. It's like, oh, it's missing a syllable, So I shelved the song. I was like, all right, fine, you're right, Dad. 6 months later, I come back to, I'm like, wait a minute, da da nights, da da nights. Cocaine fits perfect. Cocaine. So the funny bit is that it was supposed to be Boat Nights. My dad said, change it. So I changed it. And, a little bit of a rebellious change, but he ended up loving it too. And that's one of, people love that song, and it just takes you there. And we filmed it at my buddy's like mansion near where I grew up. And he's got the pool and everything. That was one of the best videos we did because we had a huge crew, and that was a lot of fun to film.
Yes, well, I've seen the video, and you're right. It's the perfect location, it's the perfect shots. Even at one point, it looks like it's snowing. The way they
Yeah.
did the graphics, the cocaine is probably drifting in the
Yes.
air, but it looks
Yes.
like snowflakes, and it's really cool. Wow, that is great. I always love videos. I grew up when MTV was just making it big. And I
Right.
think the combination of videos makes songs almost more rememberable in that regard. Yeah.
Well, I wanted to tie together the snow with the other, the other meaning of snow, and then it just kind of worked out. We had the Santa Claus come in. That was a pretty funny idea. And the snow machine, it's a snow machine. You put this like weird gel into this thing and it blows out snow like that. So it wasn't real snow, but it had a pretty good effect to it.
Well, I got the message quite clear. Yeah, it's great. The first video that I watched was Smile. And I was really taken back because there's a lot of soul in that song. It's almost like really encouraging someone to like go on, or in a way like a motivational song, like don't give up kind of a feeling. So how did you come about with that song?
Well, you're right. I think, with any song I do, I try to make it so it leaves something open to the listener for interpretation. I never want to write something that's too on the nose or it comes off cheesy sometimes. So this song is kind of about like mental health and how to balance these things. Yeah, I think you're right. There's something good about a motivational message in a song here and there. Not every song has to be crazy and fun, but Smile was the first thing. I started working on my solo career really seriously during COVID in 2019, 2020, because there was nothing to do. I took it upon myself to just start hammering away at the solo career. So that was the first single from my first album of this kind of new era. And now I'm just about to release my fourth album. So that was an important song because it really got my, revamped and relaunched career off the ground again.
Wow. Yeah, you've been very busy. I mean, considering COVID was only like 6 years ago, you've already
Right.
done 4 albums. That's, someone who is not sitting down at all. Yeah, that's very impressive. The name of the album that you have coming out is called Everything and Nothing, correct?
No, that was the first album. That was the album that Smile was on. That
Oh,
one came out
okay.
in
All right, good.
20,
Because I was,
2021.
yeah, so I was reading about that. That was the one that was mixed by the Grammy Award winner Craig Bauer.
Craig Bauer,
All
yes.
right, good. Yeah, so did he do the album that's coming out as well?
No, the new album is going to be called Thing. Oh man, you see, it's tricky because I actually have my fifth album is practically halfway done. My goal is to release one album every year until the day I die. So the new album is called That's Cool or I'm Sorry. That's the new album. That's Cool or I'm Sorry. And no, Craig did not have a part in that. We still talk and he's mixed things for me more recently. But this album was mostly self-mixed. I found a workflow that works for me where I can mix a lot of the stuff myself. It gives me a little bit more control. And then I'll send it out for mastering. I really feel like I'm in a flow state where I can have a lot of control over my own music. The biggest thing is finding the right tone. I worked with a producer on the previous album, Things Have Been Crazy, named Alex Sky out of LA. Younger guy, Gen Z. And he kind of taught me about tone, which is like, how do you, with the voice and the lyrics, the messaging, how do we connect to a really broad audience? So basically everything I do now is like, what would Alec do? So between him and Craig and my own kind of entrepreneurship, I've kind of figured out a way to keep a lot of what I do in-house, and then I'll send out for overdubs with musicians when I need them. In a lot of ways, my albums are kind of like Steely Dan, where I'm the artist, but I will use this drummer for this song, this bass player for this song, et cetera, because I have a touring band and they're awesome. And I use those guys in the studio all the time. But when push comes to shove, if I need a certain sound for a certain song, I'll call that guy or girl. You know what I mean?
That's awesome. Yes, Steely Dan is one of my favorites. They're kind of noted just for that, like what you said about
Yeah.
picking out a musician. And I had even seen some video clips of the band that they said that they kind of never got back to people. So the artists didn't even know if they made the final cut until kind of the
Yeah.
album came out,
So they heard it on the radio.
Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly. That is so cool.
Pretty
Wow.
cool.
I want to get to the first song that we're going to talk about, which is called My Secrets, which is also featured on your website as a video. Tell me about the song and tell me about the video.
Well, that was another one that took a while to, germinate. And I probably started working on that in 2017. I really didn't know what I wanted to do at the time. I had a project called Fever Breaks, where the idea would be I would be the songwriter and producer, and I would hire vocalists to sing certain songs. Because at the time, I was not super confident as a vocalist. So that song got released. I didn't promote it the right way, and it kind of fell through the cracks. Fast forward to 2020 during COVID, I say, I'm going to really go for this as a solo artist and singer. And I revamped the song. I reproduced it. I had Craig mix it. And that song really blew up and put me on the map. We've got millions of views across all the platforms. And my kids, they're like, oh, my papa wrote Eye of the Tiger and my dad wrote My Secrets, So my joke is like My Secrets is like my Eye of the Tiger.
That's amazing. I mean, Eye of the Tiger is like, but
iconic.
Yeah, exactly. But for the fact that your kids can put that into their own mind space, to say, in the world of music, this is important. In the world of music, there's fans out there that love this song, So for younger people to identify that's incredible.
Yeah, my kids are some of my biggest inspiration. And on the new album that's coming out later this year, we don't have a release date yet, but Through Brave Words, the album is called That's Cool or I'm Sorry. And a lot of the songs are actually inspired by things that my kids have said. The expression like from the mouths of babes, right? Anytime I have my phone and I have the notes app and I just write down everything I hear that triggers my ear, and sometimes they turn into a song. So honestly, if you're friends with me, you got to be careful about what you say around me because it might turn into a song.
Wow, that's so great. So what we're going to do is we're going to play the song My Secrets.
I'm never gonna fall again, no. I'm never gonna stall again, no. I'm never gonna hang my head low. I'm never giving up my secrets. I'm never gonna fall again, no. I'm never giving up my halo. I'm never gonna hang my head low. I'm never giving up my secrets. You cannot convince me that I'm invincible. I may have done some things that may be unforgivable, but the nature of the lie is a beautiful disguise. And I was thinking about you, yeah. You cannot break me, I will not shake, cause I am the master of my own chakra. Cause everybody love me, angels up above me, I'ma keep it that way, yeah. I won't apologize for these opinions in my mind. I've lost the words to say, I think it's better off that way. 'Cause that's one thing I'm gonna take to my grave. I'm never gonna fall again, no. I'm never gonna stall again, no. I'm never gonna hang my head low. I'm never giving up my secrets. I'm never gonna fall again, no. I'm never giving up my halo. I'm never gonna hang my head low. I'm never giving up my secrets. I had a dream last night, paralyzed, and I woke up with a scream last night. Realized that my neck was spinning loose, cause I was spitting truths, and I refused to see the proof I was blind. And then I woke up, and there was no luck, still in the backseat of a roller coaster. Cause everybody knows the river overflows the very moment that the truth is exposed. I will not justify this pact of me, myself, and I don't owe you anything. This ring of trust is self-contained. 'Cause that's one thing I'm gonna take to my grave. I'm never gonna fall again, no. I'm never gonna stall again, no. I'm never gonna hang my head low. I'm never giving up my secrets. I'm never gonna fall again, no. I'm never giving up my halo. I'm never gonna hang my head low. I'm never giving up my secrets.
I wanted to ask you a question before we go on about the song discussion. When you were opening for these really big bands and you were the opening band, we have a young audience that listens to the show. Were there anything as an opening band that you picked up on that you were like, oh, that's going to help me in the future? Or, from following one band to another, what you felt is like something I could take with me? Because there's so many lessons on the road. I hear it all the time.
Yeah.
Even people that have been touring for 30, 40 years, they're like, wow, I just learned this, or I just found out this, or certain quirky things happen at venues. So it's like one venue versus another venue, or you have to become like very flexible.
Probably the biggest thing I learned is you just have to be nice to everyone, because you never know who, be nice to the road crew, because they're working with these pro artists and, the Fabulous Thunderbirds, right? Just all these, just the nicest guys. And you never know who's within earshot. So it just helps as a general rule in life, is just like be nice to everyone and treat the artists with dignity, give them their space. Don't go up to them and ask for autograph, right off the bat. Nothing looks worse than, nothing makes you seem greener than just going up to people and asking for an autograph. So it's cool, treat them like a peer, and they will treat you like a peer. The other thing is, like, these guys are pros, they don't have lyrics or chords on the sheets on their music. So it really inspires you to do your homework and dig in, memorize these songs, because at the end of the day, if you sing from the heart and you believe what you're saying, then you don't need lyrics in front of you. It's coming from here and it's coming from here. The best of the best, they all do it straight from the heart, and there's no need for cheat sheets or lyrics or anything like that. So these guys have all inspired me to be better, do the homework, put in the time. It's not easy, but it's what separates the amateurs from the pros, for sure.
So true. Oh my gosh, so true. Because the fans, in the audience, they know the words.
Yes.
So they're like singing along with you, So, when there's like a pause, it's like, wait, there should be something there, It's so interesting. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Wow. Especially with social media. Now everything's being recorded too. So that adds like extra pressure, right?
Right.
Wow. I want to move on to talk about your song called California Sober. It's interesting because I know Rex Smith, who was a very popular singer in the 70s and 80s, and his son, Brandon Smith, actually just wrote a book by the name of California Sober. So tell me, what was the inspiration for your song with the same title?
I think I was watching an interview or something in the background, and it was Demi Lovato, and she's like, oh, she's California Sober. I was like, what the heck does that mean? It's like, I guess you're allowed to drink wine and smoke weed whenever you want, which I just thought was hilarious, because it's kind of counterintuitive. It's like, well, I'm sober. I'm California sober. I can just smoke weed and drink wine. So I kind of took it in a humorous direction. Like, if we can, I'm sober, but I can still smoke pot. It just seems pretty funny. So I took that idea and kind of ran with it. But that song is also kind of emotional and cool. If you listen to the lyrics, it talks about, like, it references 9/11 and like just problems in society and how we need these things to cope with our everyday life. I never want it to be too serious or too precious. That's the perfect example of a song that's kind of emotional and serious and playful all at the same time. One of my favorites, and that one came out on my second album called Spotlight. And actually, that was one of the first songs that I wrote entirely on guitar. Mostly when I'm writing on keyboards or piano. And that one I was getting really comfortable with my bar chords and stuff finally. And I ended up writing that one on the guitar. And I thought it turned out great. And my producer at the time, Fred Mullen, that was his favorite song as well. And if you don't know who Fred Mullen is, really great producer. He's worked with Jimmy Webb and a bunch of other guys. And we flew down to Nashville and did the album there, which was pretty cool for the Spotlight album.
Oh, wow. So we're going to play California Sober now.
We were cut from a cloth that someone dropped on the interstate. Only embers and ashes from the moment we left the gate. We were dropped on our heads and hushed if we ever cried. Stuffed into our beds and told not to feel inside. Turn on the news, the towers fall, looked like a landslide. Check out the views of heroin flooding the streets at night. 'Cause I'm California sober and your Mississippi clean. Once all the lying is over, baby, let's meet in between. I know we could be together in the warm sunshine. All we need is music, clean living, good weed, and good wine. Clean living, good weed, and good wine. Yeah.
It's so interesting to talk to you because you have so many different aspects in your songs, and I appreciate you bringing up 9/11. We were greatly impacted by 9/11 here in New York City, and we're impacted again because this is the 25th anniversary this year. I actually was a volunteer at the museum and the memorial site for 2 years, and it's just incredible how so many people weren't born. You know, we just take it for granted that everybody knows about 9/11. My nephews weren't here. None of them were born yet. It's almost like when my parents would talk about like Pearl Harbor, like we weren't
Right.
born. You know, it seems so far away, but 25 years ago doesn't really feel that far away.
Yeah, it
So
feels like just yesterday.
exactly, yeah. So it's important to me that you actually even reference it because there are people that are still suffering and grieving, and they're going to suffer and grieve the rest of their life. So by you weaving in coping mechanisms and
Yeah.
forgiveness and self-forgiveness in your songs, there's a lot to be said there. So I really appreciate that. Yeah, that's incredible. The third song we're going to talk about is called Black Light. Tell me about that.
A lot of my song ideas come to me while I'm drifting to sleep in the middle of the night. And I just pictured kind of like in the same way Cocaine Nights, like these songs don't necessarily start with lyrics or a melody. It kind of starts with a mood, you know? And so the word black light just came into my head. I wrote it down real quick. I went to sleep. And the next day I'm like, okay, let's turn this mood into a song. And so I came up with a bass line real quick. I started writing down just like ideas of lyrics and things that I think of when I think of the black light and being kind of lost in the moment, lost on the dance floor, drunk on love and whatever else. This song is important because this was really my first foray into just like straight dance pop music, because I didn't know kind of what I could do. I've done prog rock, I've done rock and roll, I've done pop, I've done 60s and 70s inspired stuff, like pastiche style stuff with like Michiana, which is like a reference to R&B and soul, Motown. The one thing I haven't really tried all the way was pop. And so Black Light turned into my proof of concept that I can do a pop album. And that album turned into Things Have Been Crazy, the third album. Black Light was really a really cool moment for me. I would listen to that song before writing a new song, because I kind of wanted the album to feel contiguous, like there was some continuity there. So I would listen to that and I'd say, okay, now imagine what happens next. What does track 2 sound like? How does track 2 start? And that's kind of how that album formulated it all. Black Light kind of gave birth to everything that followed on that album.
It's interesting when you talk about that you wanted to be more pop. When I was looking into your background, it even mentioned psychedelic and rock and hip hop and all of that. You have touched into a lot of areas.
Yeah.
Do you find it easy to write pop? Because for me, when I go back and I think of the 80s, which I don't even know if you were born in the 80s, but in the 80s, 88? Oh, wow. There was a very popular band in the 80s that a lot of people used to talk about with the pop and that pop sound. And it was like Daryl Hall and John Oates. It was just that feeling that wherever you are, even now, it could be 40 plus years later, people just jump to their feet with that. And those kind of song and songwriting really get someone out of their chair or get someone moving their body around. So when you say you play Black Light, is that what it does for you? Like, do you feel like moving your body around or jumping out of your chair? Is that like the feeling?
Yeah, absolutely. And, pop is fun because the whole thing was I wanted to just reach like a very general audience. So I feel like that gives me the most chance to spread my wings and reach the most amount of people as possible without giving up my artistic integrity. But the cool thing about pop is that it's such an enormously broad category now. As long as you sing within the subject matter, there's like kind of a box of subject matter you can sing about with a variety of instruments that you can use, and it's still called pop. Really there's like 4 genres that are popular like right now. It's like pop, rock, heavy metal, and country, hip hop. But within those genres, there's a lot of experimentation, a lot of cross-contamination. You can use hip hop within pop, and you can use metal within pop. It's kind of just how it's all brought together and presented that kind of brings it all together, I guess. It's a little hard to explain, but country when you hear it, metal when you hear it, and pop when you hear it. And like I said, there's cross-contamination. It's kind of incestual. If you go out as a pop artist, as long as you say it with confidence, then people will believe it. That's kind of the thing. It's given me a lot of flexibility to paint within the lines while also trying to push the envelope a little bit, weave in some of my own influences like psychedelic, prog here and there, and jazz. I love jazz. Steely Dan's one of my favorite bands. So if I'm writing a pop song, I'll try to weave in a couple weird chords, even if it's just one weird chord in a song. It's kind of like my stamp on the thing. So I'm trying to move the genre in a direction that I can jive with. Like, there's a lot of country music I don't like. There's a lot of pop music I don't like. I'm trying to write pop music that I do like, So I'll listen to my own music all the time, but you got to be careful about it because you'll get sick of it. Then you won't want to listen anymore. It's definitely a balancing act.
But also, it's very funny because I've been to a few concerts where someone will say, when I wrote this, I wasn't sure if I liked it, and it turned out to be like a #1 hit, and I'm playing it the rest of my career, So it's funny, the one that you may not feel drawn to may be like the #1 hit that follows you through.
That's kind of how My Secrets was. I didn't really think much of the song, and then it kind of exploded, and everybody loved it, So
wow.
Yeah, exactly.
That is so funny. Wow. So we're gonna play Black Light right now.
You hit the dance floor, drops, then my heart stops. It's electric when I feel the thunder. And when the time is right, then the black light illuminates your face and I fall. And when the beat, then the party, it's electric when I feel the thunder. And when you come alive, then the black light illuminates your face and I fall under.
You had said something earlier, and I wanted to take time to circle back to it because I think it's really great. The thing that you said about listening to your kids and how they say like a one-liner here and there, can you think of any one of those one-liners that the kids said that turned into like a full song? Or
Oh,
even
yeah.
like, oh, really? Tell me about that.
Well, one song on my third album that's you can listen to on Spotify right now is called Sparkles, Sparkles in the Air. And my son said this. I think he might have been 6 years old at the time. I forget what, maybe he saw, we were at the trampoline park, I think, and I forget what he saw. Maybe he was making a joke about maybe somebody was hugging or kissing in the corner or something like a mom and dad. And he said, "Oh, they're kissing like sparkles in the air," And I was like, sparkles in the air. That's so like when the kid says that, it's like, this is what he's picturing, like love is like sparkles in the air. And so literally I wrote the whole song based on that title, and it's called Sparkles. It's one of my favorite songs off that album. Another thing he said, my brother is in jail tonight. He doesn't have a brother. He has a sister. And he's just very silly. And I took that song, and that song is also on that album. And it's one of my favorite songs from the album. It's about, my brother is in jail tonight, but tomorrow we'll be singing. It's about like, we're going to go out and be crazy. We're going to jump on cars until 3 a.m. and we're going to smash bottles, and he's going to get picked up by the cops. But you know what? He's my brother through and through. And tomorrow we'll be singing. That was another one I borrowed from him. And of course, I'll have my attorney talk to his attorney when the time is right.
Oh, yes. Eventually he's going to put it together and be like, "Hey, Dad, you owe me."
Yeah, exactly.
Wow, very good. Wow, that is so
Oh, and
interesting.
I have one more story. I got to give my daughter credit too. We're in Saugatuck, Michigan. She's probably 8 years old, and she's like, "Dada, let's go out and sit on the trampoline and watch the stars." And I'm probably working on a different song in the gazebo, and I'm like, "Okay, I'll be right there. I'll be right there." 10 minutes later, she comes back and she goes, "Dada, come on, the stars are waiting." That's a song title right there. The stars are waiting. So that song is going to be coming out on the new album. That's Cool or I'm Sorry, which is coming out later this year through Brave Words.
Oh, wow. That's incredible when you said that
Yeah.
the stars are waiting. That is
Stars are waiting.
really, really amazing. There's something, I have to say about children. They really don't have a filter, but they almost have a filter. It's like an oxymoron. Like they tell you the stuff that you need to hear, whereas
Yeah.
an adult may like clean it up or fix it up or be like, "Oh, I shouldn't say that." Kids don't know not to say something, so they actually tell you what you need to hear.
Well, they have this like brilliant, limited knowledge of their world. They know so much intrinsically, and some of the noise they haven't heard yet. So they're more pure than us.
Any of your children have any striking interest in the music field themselves yet, or they're still too little?
Oh my gosh. Well, they're both amazing singers, perfect pitch. My daughter is starting to do all the inflections, and she'll do these like jazzy runs and stuff, and she's really, really good. But, I'll be like, Maisie, I want you to start taking piano lessons. She's like, "No." So it's kind of like I'm taking the cue off my dad. He never forced me into piano lessons. I ended up wanting to take them myself around 13, 14. So I'm giving them space, but I think that they will be interested in it at some point.
You might need them as backup singers.
Yeah, and if not, I'll just use their crazy ideas for more songs, so it works out anyway.
Wow, amazing. So I want you to plug your website, your social media, how people can contact you before we discuss the last song.
Sure, yeah, it's just Colin Peterik Music everywhere. Facebook, X, Instagram, YouTube, Colin Peterik Music. If you're looking for me on Apple Music or Spotify, just search Colin Peterik.
Very good. Yeah, I have to do a shout out to Michael Brandvold. He's the one that introduced me to you and Brave Words Records, which will be taking care of your new release. Before we leave the interview, which I don't want to leave the interview because you've been so much fun, tell me about your song Swans.
So Swans was one of the last things I ended up recording for this new album. That's Cool or I'm Sorry. I ended up leaving it off the album because it's a cover song. And without it, it's a nice 10-song album of only original music. But one of my favorite bands of all time that I just discovered in the past 5-6 years is called Prefab Sprout. Have you heard of them? Not a lot of people have.
No,
they had
I have not.
a few hits in the 80s, but the main songwriter's name is Patty McAloon. Just a genius when it comes to lyrics and a real wordsmith. The focus is always on the vocals. He's got this pure vocal tone, and every word he says is not wasted. Every word is precious. There's an album they released in 1998 called Andromeda Heights. Buried in the album is this really great song called Swans. And it's really about how a woman is so beautiful and uncorrupted, and then the fox comes and tempts her to go to the other side of the pond. And if you listen to the lyrics, it's just beautiful. And it kind of tells a story of humanity through a metaphor that Patty McAloon was so good at doing. The reason why I wanted to do a cover version is because the production on their version is extremely minimal. It's like keyboards and vocals, and that's it. I wanted to do a version with drums and trumpets and almost like hip hop, but like a lo-fi jazz. And I just wanted to sing the song myself because it's so much fun to listen to. I kind of wanted to get into his headspace. I sat there in the studio and I sang it for 3 hours, and I was like, this is like a really cool, it's actually working. You never know if a song is going to work or not until you're actually there in front of the microphone in the studio. And when it started gelling, I felt like this weird telepathic connection with my hero, Patty McAloon. And, he's still alive. He lives in England. Someday I want to meet him. So that was a really cool song. We just released that through Brave Words. We did a video. Shout out to Mark Mish, who did all the AI videos and stuff. And I ended up singing it, and he interspersed my image on top of these really cool visuals of like swans flying and foxes and stuff. That was a really cool thing. It's actually the second time I've done a cover version of a Prefab Sprout song. I think secretly I want more people to discover the band. You know what I mean? And maybe I'll curry his favor. And like I said, I want to meet him one day. That would be very cool. But yeah, go check out that song. That song is available everywhere now too.
Well, this has been wonderful. First of all, we've learned so much about you, about your dad, about all of your music, and also about all the influences that you've had in, working in the field of music. I wish you the best. I thank you again. Everyone go and check out Colin and all of his work. It's been a pleasure to have you on. Thank you again.
Thank you so much, Kathy. It's been awesome.
Thank you. We're going to roll out with the song Swans.
And their partners, they stay faithful forever or die on the water. Foxes are only good for ruffling feathers, leading lambs to the slaughter. Swans, effortlessly beautiful, take care. You ought to be aware of foxes hiding. Go on, there's time for you to sail back to his side. Please stay faithful forever, or die on the water. Swans, effortlessly beautiful, take care. You ought to be aware of foxes hiding. Go on, still time for you to sail back to his side. While I forget I ever saw you gliding.
You have been listening to Bringing the Darkness to the Light with Catherine Nadal, professional psychic medium, Dream Central Station, LLC. My audio editor is Al Hemberger at the Loft Recording Studios in Bronxville, New York. This is WNEW 102.7 FM radio.